Welcome to night number 39 of History Bedtime Stories in bed in our pajamas. Tonight, I want to talk to you about the biggest industry in all of Detroit in 1885. It was actually bone black, the burning and processing of skeletal remains from animals to make a black, dusted pigment that could be used for everything from gunsmithing to mascara to India ink to paint, and discovered in the 1790s as a purifier for everything from wines and vinegars to sugar liqueurs, making them into crystallized sugar that people could use in cooking and dining. Now, bone black and bone tinting comes from burning these bones down. And if you're going to burn bones down, what do you need? Bones. Well, as Americans pushed west during the Great Migration of the 1760s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 1800s, they are going into prairie lands and finding what they consider to be garbage, litter, buffalo and bison bones, and they're finding them in huge amounts. Generally, they just clear them off their land, burn them, maybe use them for fertilizer if they understood that was something they could do, which not everyone did at the time. But by the 1880s, it starts getting around that East Coast companies will pay good money for these buffalo and bison bones as long as they are free of meat, free of oil, and bleached, meaning they'd sat in the sun long enough to just be skeletal remains. By 1884, 400 trade loads of bones are being brought off the prairie states and to the Midwest and the East Coast every single year. For 1 ton of dried bones, you could get about $10. Now, $10 in today's money, we're talking about 400 bucks. So it wasn't a small amount of money, and plenty of prairie farmers supplemented their income by having the children go out and collect these bones, gather them up. They'd be taken by wagon to a train depot, sent to the East Coast, and the family could make a little bit of extra mad money by it. As the 1890s roll around, though, buffalo bones become scarcer and scarcer. And there's a couple really terrifying decades where Native American burial mounds are actually being raided. Human remains are being sent with the remains of buffalo, deer, elk, beaver, fox as this bone blackening agent to the East Coast. In Michigan, we actually have the Michigan Carbons Works. They are originally founded by Demetrius Jarvis and William Hopper. They start in 1873 with a little tiny building in Hamtramck and an $18,000 investment from the two partners. By 1880, they've expanded to a 72-acre, 50-building complex very near where the Rouge River and the Detroit River intersect in what today we call the neighborhood of Delray, but at the time was pre-Detroit International Exposition no man's land. It was this big marshy area, and they actually nickname it Boneville. This 72-acre property has buildings for everything from making bone blackening that can then be used in pigments, paints, mascara, and Indian ink, to making gelatin. The hot new treat of society's elite was these giant fancy Jell-O molds, sometimes suspending fresh fruit inside the Jell-O molds, sometimes suspending things like ham or shrimp. But as gelatin becomes more popular, the need for this ground bone grows because it's a main component in gelatin. By 1896, there is a bone crisis. We are running out. And the Michigan Carbon Works is like, we're not going to be affected by this. We have to protect ourselves from the possibility of running out of bones like other companies are going to. So they start stockpiling. They start paying double or triple market value to bones coming from the Plain States into the Midwest, into Detroit. And they absolutely corner the market. Bones are stacked so high in Boneville that this famous photo is taken between 1896 and 1900. By 1920, the Michigan Carbon Works is successful enough to be acquired by Araco, which is a big major national producer of bone black. The company is acquired a few more times, and today there is still a bone blackening and bone processing facility in Metro Detroit. It's in Melvindale, and it's called Ebonex, and they still make the traditional bone blackening that is renowned between artists, gunsmiths, and even culinarians. Hope you enjoy your history. We'll see you tomorrow night at 8. Wash your hands, and if you give us a like or share down in the comment section below, we'll enter you into a contest to win a whole bunch of Detroit stickers. Oh, that one's fallen off. Later this week.